you for joining me today. I'm Angeline here with B-Sides, joined today with Josh Fudge. Hi, Josh.
Hey,
Thank you so much for hanging out. Where are you tuning in from?
I'm tuning in from my home studio here in Oklahoma City. Yeah, just in my nice little padded room for recording.
You grew up in Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah. So I was born and raised here. It's not like a huge crazy city or anything, but I honestly like it a lot. There's some really cool pockets here, I think, if you know where to look. Like there's some really cool arts districts and there's some lovely people here as well. So shout
Yeah.
out to my
Well,
Oklahomies. Love all of them.
no, that's great. I mean, I feel like, once you grow up, once you stay in the city that you kind of grew up in, you kind of end up finding those fun pockets of where the fun things are. I can definitely relate. I live with my parents, and I've lived in the city that I grew up in, and finding the fun spots to basically go to. It's kind of a hobby of mine because otherwise I'd be stuck doing the same thing all the time.
Totally, yeah. Exploring, I feel like is so fun, and yeah, there are some like really cool little like arts districts and little places here that I really like to
Mhm.
frequent. And then it's cool because there is some like pretty nice nature, little like parks around here and stuff as well that I go to a lot. And yeah, but the best thing about Oklahoma City, like by so far, is the people. Like I honestly probably wouldn't stay here if I didn't have like such amazing friends around me and such a cool community. Like my community is so just warm and sweet to me here. So I don't know. They say that Midwesterners are like very nice and polite people, and I feel like that definitely is true from what I've seen of the people here in Oklahoma.
I was reading somewhere that, you graduated high school earlier this year and you decided to take a gap year. I didn't personally take a gap year, but I love hearing about other people's experience taking a gap year. So tell me more about your gap year.
Yeah, totally. So like how I was class of 2020. So I graduated, yeah, May of 2020 officially. And I mean, COVID was like at its peak at that time. So like my senior year in high school, I mean, COVID really hit just right at the end, and everyone in my grade was just kind of like, what's going on? Like what on earth is everybody going to do? And at the time, my college plans were kind of up in the air. So like I really knew that I wanted to do music, but I had a full ride to OSU for engineering actually. And then I also made it into Belmont's songwriting program, and I was like, I have no idea like which one I'm going to take. Like, oh my gosh, like, do I want to go to music school or do I want to be an engineer? Like, I know that I want to do music, but like, my parents were like, you can't make money doing that. So, what's up? But anyways, I ended up taking a gap year because they said that they would hold my scholarship anyways, just because like COVID, everything was pretty crazy. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll just plan on going into college and being class of 2025. But while the gap year happened, I picked up more hours at my job. I was working first in customer service at the mall and then in a warehouse selling old computer parts. And I worked 40 hours a week and saved like pretty much all my money and just poured it into music while I was still living at home with my parents. And I worked a ton that year. My gap year, I mean, I really hardly hung out with people. I pretty much the only thing that I ever did was work and play music. And I just worked really, really hard at it and ended up, getting an album together, releasing a lot of music over that gap year. And it all went really, really well. People started to really take notice of it and, wanted to hear more and more and know more and more about me, which was so awesome. I eventually started catching the ears and eyes of a lot of people in the industry. I had potential managers start to reach out to me and potential labels, et cetera, et cetera. And it was great. I was super, super happy to watch that all happen. And it was kind of this hilarious dynamic because I was working in the warehouse like full time and I was going to my boss and being like, hey dude, like, can I take like a call with like Atlantic Records at lunch or whatever? And it's like, it was just hilarious. And things ended up going really well. I ended up signing a deal, getting my full team together, my management, my lawyer, all that good stuff. And I am now a full-time musician, which is great. So yeah, I got to move out of my house and into a house of my own, which is awesome. And I have like my own studio room here now, which is great, and lots of super, super cool recording equipment. And yeah, I don't know. My dad jokes that I'm a college dropout all the time, but I'd say that my gap year ended up pretty good. I'm honestly really happy that I ended up taking it.
Well, that sounds like one hell of a gap year to say the least. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like building on that, you're a super brand new artist and lots of people are discovering you. I know that your songs have been featured on like New Music Friday and all that. So
Yeah.
Tell us more about like how you started getting into music.
Okay, yeah. So I got into music really young. Like I've been playing music since I was 4. And I have always really liked it. So I'll like just the whole entire kind of story is like whenever I was really little, I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And my dad figured out he was having a son and he was just like, great, amazing. I can put him in all the sports and we can play catch all the time and he can, go do all this stuff. Needless to say, that's not the kind of person that I am, and that's totally fine. But it was just really funny because he was very lost. Like he'd put me in all like the YMCA sports or whatever, and I would just kind of stare at my shadow and daydream. And he was like, "Well, we got to get him into something. Like something has to happen, right?" And as fate would have it, my neighbor Susanna Schaefer was throwing out her old piano, an upright piano, and my dad just ended up taking it in. It was a 1924 Haynes and Co. piano, which is a like it's not a good brand like at all, and it's really not a good piano, but it plays and every single note sounds. And he brought it into the house. He scratched up our wood floor. It was super bad coming inside. And my mom was like so upset with him. She was like, how could you do this, like blah blah blah. And I was very drawn to the piano just like instantly. I was like, oh my god, this thing is so cool. And like it makes, I can just like sit down and press these buttons and it makes these like crazy noises, right? And my little tiny pea brain was so fascinated with that. And I just found myself kind of going back to it over and over, and just playing like every single day. And my dad sat down with me and he told me one night, it was on a Sunday night, and because we used to sit together on Sunday nights and I would just play, like I would just improvise and play, like whatever I had been screwing around with or, just whatever I was feeling. And I remember he told me, well, Josh, you should play me about your day. And I was like, what? I'm 6. Doesn't compute. and he was like, well, just stop thinking and just like play what you feel, like play what you experienced. And that I like will never forget that moment because it was such like a clicking moment for me. I was like, oh, so that's what music is supposed to be. Music is supposed to be like this release of emotion. It's supposed to be this way for you to channel like what you're feeling into this abstraction of sound that's only there for a fleeting moment and then it's gone. And that it got me obsessed with improv, like really, really obsessed with improv. Because what I would do after every day, that I had experienced really any kind of emotion at all, is I would just go to the piano and ask myself, well, how did that sound? How did that feel? And try to translate that. And I just kept doing that for years and years and years. And I just loved it. I mean, I've been doing music forever because it's what I love more than anything. And it just kind of snowballed from there. I started street performing when I was about 8 or 9. And I saw this flyer for H&8. This is this block party down in downtown Oklahoma City. And it said, street performers welcome. I said, okay. And I took the flyer, I tore it down, and I took it to my mom. And I was like, Mom, you gotta let me go. Street performers are welcome. I had this little keyboard. It was like a 66 key Casio, like the worst keyboard ever, like so bad. And it had like little internal speakers on it. Like no one could hear me at all. And it ran on like 6 of like the D batteries that are like this big and like super huge around. And I would just, load them all in there and go down the street. My mom she didn't want me to do it though. She was like, no, that's crazy. You're not going on the street. You're like literally like 8 years old. And my dad was like, whatever. So my dad let me go and he sat out there in a little lawn chair a few feet away while I street performed. Walked back with a backpack full of cash, $200 in cash. and little 8-year-old me poured it on the table. And I was like, hey, this is real. This is more money than I've made from mowing lawns for like the last like summer. Like, please, like this is what I got to do. Like I could actually make money doing this. Are you kidding me? And I street performed all the way up until I was like 16. And I did it pretty much every opportunity that I could. I would go out on the street into those little arts districts I was telling you about. And I would bring my mom's sugar jar, tape up a sign that said like, help me get a new keyboard or help me feel my music addiction or whatever it was. And I'd put it down there and always set up next to the beer truck because people tip you better. And, I would make my money and I just spend it all on more music equipment. And now I guess I'm here. So life is good, right?
Yeah, and here we are, like making music professionally, full time. It's your life. But all that hard work and all of your experiences turned out. You released Fun Times, like all that hard work and all of your experiences were like brought to life in Fun Times, which you released earlier this year. And it's kind of, I was reading somewhere that it's kind of an ode to your senior year and like growing up and all that stuff. And it seems like you've sort of closed that chapter because feel like is a different sound. So how would you describe this next chapter that and new journey that you're going on?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a great question. And you're totally right. Like Fun Times was totally an ode to like my childhood. It was the end of my childhood, pretty much. Like it was my growing up and understanding that things were passing and life was changing. And I'm so proud of how it turned out. But yeah, you're right. I feel like is a totally different song. And like it's Fun Times, but brighter and more colorful and more vibrant and more upbeat and more ear catching and more polished because I'm older now. I'm more experienced now. I'm a professional now. I'm full time. I'm doing it constantly. I have new gear. I have a new outlook. I have a lot of new stuff, right? And I've been working pretty tirelessly on my upcoming project, and I think it's coming along amazing. Like my kind of goal going into it was like I very much associate like color and sound like a lot, and I want to make sounds that sound vibrant. That sound like neon, but they also sound like very warm and kind, easy to listen to, but they're also very like striking, very colorful. That's kind of what I'm going for with this upcoming project. Like Feel Like is a really good, I think, kind of indicator of that, because Feel Like is this song that's just like this super like beautiful, bright, euphoric kind of feeling, right? Like they're very much just like you're dropping on the roller coaster and your stomach kind of like drops for a second. It's like that kind of vibe, right? It's very colorful, and you listen to it, you're like, I haven't ever really heard anything like that before. Like what's kind of going on, right? And my whole project, I think, is kind of aiming to do that. Where Fun Times was a goodbye to my childhood, I think my new project is more of a hello to my adulthood. Oh my God, I'm so excited for 2022. Wow.
And we are too, Josh. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Josh. Everyone go check out his latest single and music video, Feel Like. And yeah, thanks so much, Josh.
Yeah, thank you. Seriously, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm super excited to have talked to you today. And dude, I just can't wait to show you more stuff in the future, man. It's going to be awesome.